Well, hey,
Hey.
hello. Well, this all seems a little bit odd
Yeah,
because
you're kind of expecting a third wheel there to be sort of guiding, aren't you? And
indeed,
there's nothing.
it almost feels like, with a naughty children who've finally been let loose to drive the car over a weekend.
However, it should be said he is still behind
Yes,
pulling levers. So
apparently he is still there. You just can't see him.
he is still there,
Well, unfortunately, he has power of absolute veto. So if we step over the mark, we just get nuked.
So we're going to be very, very good. We're going to be good.
We are indeed.
Anyway, Spence, how's your week been?
It's been very interesting, as I think I mentioned the last time.
Yes.
I kind of need to be slightly enigmatic about that at the moment because I can't really say anything else. But yes, it's been okay, and I will be able to sort of be a bit more open about things over the weeks to come. But apart from that, it's been good. I've managed to sort of get on with a bit of work, which has been okay.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of thought over the last sort of couple of weeks you were kind of edging back towards doing something with wings, and then you've got some new blue foam, and you're off again on walls and things.
Indeed, my edging towards wings is edging a little further away. So what I've been doing is I've actually started doing some more work with some blue foam projects. John's just put up these were the test pieces that I did. The reason why this is significant is over the summer I've been working with grey styrofoam, which you'll all have seen, and I had a sheet of blue styrofoam, a little piece of it, and it seemed like a different material. It was a little bit less fibrous than the grey, but also it was denser and slightly harder as well. So what I did is I went on eBay and I ordered a load of sheets of this blue foam to see how it would operate with the techniques that I developed over the summer. Very different material. The blue compared to the grey. The grey is much softer, and that's sort of noticeable when I was kind of working on this wall. But that gives you an indication there. I was creating something. This was just a simple kind of test piece that was based on a Verlinden DCS building from the 70s, DCS wall that he used. You can see it behind the horseshoe in this picture. So I kind of recreated the wall. I wanted to see whether or not I could use the material to get something closer to the originals.
I have to say that the two things that really struck me were when you said it's less fibrous,
and
a bit harder.
Definitely.
I went straight out onto eBay and found some and ordered some because I think we discussed this earlier this year when you were initially playing with it. John, myself, and you, we all had some of this stuff. And I was struggling with it. I finally started getting it to work, but if you remember, my main complaint was it was too fibrous for me.
And this blue material doesn't appear to be like that. So I'm sensing that one is a higher grade material than the other is where I'm at with this. The blue foam, which you'll have now ordered, when you've ordered it, is called XPS foam, and basically what it's used for is underfloor heating insulation. And as a result of that, it's very stiff. The boards are very stiff. It's still extraordinarily easy to cut, and it's easy to sculpt and that kind of thing. But some of the sculpting and some of the impressions that I put into the buildings over the summer took a bit more work to get into this material. However, I'm kind of happy with the way that this looks.
I think it's beautiful. I really like the results from that. And I'm kind of thinking in terms of where my modelling is, it's going to be great for doing like little bits of hard standing and things like that. You'll be able to emboss it really nicely with sort of concrete and make it look like concrete rather than brick and stuff.
And also because of the size of the sheets that I ordered in the grey were almost A4 in size. But these sheets, the blue sheets, they're 1.5 meters by something like 80 centimeters.
Yeah, I think mine was slightly. I think mine are 1200 by 600. So we're looking at 4 feet by 2 feet. So 4x2.
Yeah, that would be about right. So
Yeah.
so you could use a single sheet to make even a hard standing for a 30-second scale jet, 30-second scale F-15. You put on one of these. One of the things I think I can announce tonight is that part of the test of this blue foam, and because I've had some questions over the summer, I'm about to release or work on a series of retro structures like this that I will be offering for sale. So what I've decided I'm going to do is that I'm going to I've spoken to somebody that'll be able to cast these for me, and so they'll come through as traditional plaster structures like this,
Right. Yeah, yeah.
but they will follow the style, size, and kind of detail that would have been available from DCS and MDA in the 70s. So these are unashamedly created to allow people who followed this series to produce dioramas along similar lines and along. So if they're looking for something that's a small little vignette, just a little kind of wall in the background, something like that, that's what I'm hoping to create.
And I think you can't get those things anymore anyway, so it's not like
No.
anybody's toes are being stepped on, is it? It's merely,
no, very much not. There are much bigger buildings out there that you can buy from the likes of Great North Roads or from Royal Model, those kind of things, which are much more detailed. I'm looking at something that's unashamedly retro in its approach. So it'll be something that'll be nice and easy, cast in single parts.
Almost like vignette accessories rather than diorama accessories. Does that make sense? Do you know what I'm saying?
So the idea would be that I would create a diorama using one of my structures, something like that, and then I will offer that as part of to go along with the book, that kind of thing. It just gives people, I think, the chance to purchase one of these, and that they'll be done very limited edition. I'll only do a handful of them each time, just so that people can have them.
I'm really interested in how they make the molds, how they will make the molds for that from something that's the material you're using is still quite porous, isn't it?
It is. So there will be an element of because sealing them in. Probably I'll seal them in with PVA and do that so that it stiffens the surface up, that kind of thing. But something like the wall section, which I did yesterday, you can see that that's done as you can see that there are sections that stand out from the face of the wall. So what with something like this, what I would plan to do would be to follow the original. So if you imagine that wall split in half vertically, so that would be two pieces, and then those pillars would be additional parts, and then the side wall, and then another pillar. So that way you can also build them how you want. If you want to just build a wall structure and only have one pillar, you can do. If you want to have two pillars, you can do that. Yeah. So it'll almost be like a sort of multi-pose kind of thing. It's
that kind of thing where because of the kind of structures you're representing, however you build it, it's going to look as good, isn't it? It's not like you're going to be trying to hide seams and stuff like that. You're going to be using the seams as an integral part of the structure, aren't you? So
yeah, and I'm sort of very much looking at the sort of the idea of just of creating something that's like an offshoot of my personality, if you know what I mean. So I'm sort of approaching it in a quite a naive way, vaguely in the hope that people will like it enough to want to buy a couple of these things. But also
it's 2020, Spence. I'm fully in favour of naivety.
Yeah, and that sort of thing. But also, what I may do as well is that if somebody wanted a unique structure, that they could commission me to do that as well. So if somebody wanted, say, a wall or a building that fitted in with the diorama idea that they would have, I think I'm going to, at some point, I'm going to offer that as a possibility as well. So they could contact me and say, all I need is a structure that's 4 inches by 4 inches high, little corner. Can you just make me something?
Almost, a bespoke structure service.
Yes, something along those lines. But initially, I'll be sort of creating some walls and some fountains, that kind of thing. Things that are small. I'm not looking to compete with the big boys who produce this kind of stuff. but just nice little accessories that'll go with the dioramas and go with the books as well. That's sort of the idea.
I think given what you've produced this year with that, I think it's a pretty compelling product, to be honest, because people like what you've done, and a lot of people are going to want a piece of it if you know. I think that's a pretty compelling product.
Yeah. We'll see what happens. It's just another idea that will go alongside this legacy build series, which I think still got quite a lot of legs yet. There's still, I mean, we've only just scratched the surface of legacy builds. Yeah. So moving on from what I've been doing, though, you've completed your Mirage 3.
I finished it earlier today. I mean, these things you all say finish, and then a couple of days later you go back and see something you've missed. But as much as I hate the phrase because I see it too often, I'm calling it done.
Yes.
You know, I spent 2 hours this morning painting the ejector seat. So I hate 70-second scale ejector seats. You know, spent 2 hours painting that this morning and dropped it in, and then finished it all off. Touched in a few details, but yeah, it's come out pretty nice. I'm pretty happy with it overall. And the kit is the Model Civic kit is fabulous.
I have to say, you've done an amazing job on this. The model, the camouflage looks beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
Obviously, I've only seen it in the photographs, but it's kind of super smooth. But the one thing that stands out is, and I know you were very gracious towards this kit when you first looked at it, but there's an awful lot of detail within this model. I mean, it is every inch a Mirage 3. I mean,
yes, absolutely.
Superb.
There you go. I've just seen what I've missed.
Just don't tell anybody; they'll be none the wiser.
No, I've got to put cannon barrels in.
Blimey, yeah.
I've got to put. But yeah, I mean the thing, all the missiles on this, I thought the ones in the kit looked a little bit anemic, so they're 3D. I designed and printed my own 3D on my 3D printer for the missiles. Particularly the Centerline R530 looked a little bit anemic in the kit, so that one there was designed from dimensions sketches I've provided. Laurent Stern provided me from one of his connections in France, so I'm pretty happy that that's a fairly accurately sized R530 missile. Well, thank you, Jerry. But yeah, it's again, I kind of stopped short of. You look at the underside of some Mirages, and they're far dirtier than that. But I always tend to stop a little bit short of going overboard, if you like. But I'm quite happy with it. I think it's come out very well.
And it's a great scheme, isn't it?
It's a fantastic scheme. It's the Argentinians had so many different. Well, they had so many different versions of the Mirage over the years. They got lots from the Israelis. They got some from Peru. They got their own new build ones. All this kind of stuff. So you could actually spend a good few models worth just modeling Argentina's history with the Mirage 3, which is something I fully intend to do, particularly when we get the other new kits in the next year or so.
Yeah, I mean, looking at it finished as well as a miniature, you can't get past how beautiful that aircraft is, can you?
It's just bearing in mind it was designed and in production and service about the same time as English Electric Lightning.
Yeah.
But it was so much more versatile and not necessarily capable, although it had a radar guided missile, something the Lightning never had. But it was just, it's one of those aeroplanes that many countries used a few of them. There's a lot of countries that bought 6 or 8 Mirage 3s, Lebanon and Zaire, as it was then, all these sorts of countries. Fantastic colour schemes.
Yeah.
Fantastic colour schemes.
And which lay to rest the idea that they look best in natural metal, because I haven't seen a camouflage Mirage 3 that I didn't love. So
and it ran the whole gamut as well, from the natural metal era right through to current low visibility Mirage 3s. The final Argentinian scheme was incredibly grey.
Yes,
it was pale grey with grey markings. So it's grey with grey on a grey background.
And let's not forget the blue and aluminium French aircraft as well.
The blue and aluminium, the ones based at Djibouti, the ones with Vexen at Djibouti, and the in the Sable and was it what was it called? I can't remember the name of it. It was Sable and something else. Chamois.
Yes. Yeah.
Sable and chamois scheme with the kind of almost quite a dark blue underside, almost azure blue underside. But yeah, there's so many different schemes, and then obviously you move into the Israeli ones, which have a history all of their own, and you know the Israeli aircraft that were then sold on to Argentina.
Yes, so, absolutely. So as a kit, we have talked about this. How would you sum it up?
Beautiful. it really is. It's difficult to because whilst it is still definitely a limited run, we are talking the very, very, very top end of limited run. As long as you take care cleaning up edges and flash, which there isn't a lot of, to be honest, it goes together as well as any mainstream kit. It really does. It's absolutely it's a really nice breakdown, and it just works. It just all goes together, and it's a pretty painless experience. As all of my, I mean, the other Mirage 3 of theirs I built earlier this year is a completely different kit.
Right.
That they released that last year. Certain issues came to light, so this one is a completely new tool.
Right. Okay.
So the one they released over a year ago is already obsolete and gone.
So can we assume from this that you'll you'll be working on a two-seater at some point in the very near future?
Yes, as soon as I can get hold of one. Yeah. As soon as I can get hold of one, it will be on the bench. It won't. Well, as you can see, I mean, both the Mirage 3. In fact, it's been pretty much quite a year of models fit for me, hasn't it? It started off with the P51H. I've built the Mirage 3, the Mirage 4000, then the Mirage 3 again. It's been the only one that's failed is the 109D that I built, which was down to my paintwork rather than the kit.
Yeah,
which is still a fantastic model. But yeah, models fit are very, very high up there on my list of favourite manufacturers at the moment. So yeah, I mean it's 32 or 33 pounds for a small 72nd scale jet fighter. You either want to pay that sort of money or you don't. I think it's worth the money.
Absolutely.
I'll have no compunction about buying the twin seater when I can get hold of it, because that was what 2.5 weeks I spent on that. So
there you go. And you've got a beautiful model at the end of it, which is
I'm pretty happy with it. I have to say it's come out very nicely.
Mike, the answer to your question is no, I don't. I spray the wall section that I posted an image of yesterday was base coated in Tamiya acrylics, Tamiya khaki drab. Then it was oversprayed within the brickwork with a mixture of their khaki color and flat earth, and then it was dry brushed with Humbrol enamels, and I added oil paint kind of washes on the top of that. This foam is really resilient. It's a very resilient material, and unlike polystyrene, where if you put anything on polystyrene it just disintegrates, this foam allows you to work on top of it without kind of worrying about it. So this was kind of painted yesterday, and it's all nice and dry today. So yeah, just Tamiya base coats, then Humbrol dry brushing over that with sort of, I think I used some of the ammo weathering products. I used some of the oil brushes and that kind of thing. So yeah, that's how you do it. Nice and simple. Don't like to do anything too complicated. Nice and simple. Okay, moving on. We've got a few kits to look at tonight, and some decals as well, which is slight diversion.
Yeah, I have to say it's been a bit of a quieter week, hasn't it? In terms of
it's been very quiet.
Announced releases, which you're always going to get those sorts of weeks. I think the last couple of months have been just an avalanche of new kit releases.
It has really. We were sort of hoping that it would continue into the festival, but it certainly has slowed down over the last sort of week or so. But we're going to begin with a kit that we took a sort of a brief look at when it was announced a month or so ago, and that's Tamiya's Jagdpanzer Marder 1, which you can see here. This is the 75mm armed self-propelled gun that was built by the Germans on the Lorraine tractor chassis.
It's tiny, isn't it?
It's absolutely minute. In 1/35th, it's 14 centimeters long. It really is a very small model.
Less than 6 inches long. That's just insane.
It's very, very small. But Tamiya have certainly packed a lot of detail into this very small package, which has made it, I think, highly attractive, and certainly one that I'm really looking forward to having a go at. I've already sort of tried to get hold of one of these, and so at some point I'm hoping to put this together. I sort of muted the idea of maybe using one of these over the weekend of the festival, but I have a slight suspicion that our producer this evening might want me to do something else involving piles of blue foam as well. So plans may be changing, but we're going to run through some of the some photographs that we've taken of this kit, give you a fair idea of the detail that you can expect. It is, if I say this is a typical Tamiya kit, you get the idea of what I mean.
You don't really need to say any more than that, do you? Once
no.
It's typically Tamiya.
Yeah,
people know exactly what that means these days.
They do, and one of the things that means, as can be seen from this photograph, is not only the delicacy of the detail, but how delicate the tabs are joining the parts to the runners, which means you're not faffing around for hours cleaning up multiple connecting points for small parts. Each one of these parts on here has got one connection. Clip it off the runner, you clean up that slight burr that you've got, you assemble the parts. The
thing that surprises me is I'm looking at those parts on the sprue there, and any one of those parts would have been 8 pieces in a Dragon kit.
Absolutely, and I think that's what puts a lot of people off these putting together these complex 35th scale kits. Say what you like, Tamiya kits might not have the vast levels of detail that some of their competitors might have in terms of 35th scale kits, but they're much more satisfying as an assembly project if you're looking for something quick to build. This looks like a delight to put together, and because it is so tiny, I think you'll become engrossed into that. The kit includes all of the necessary parts to make up the vehicle, but it also includes the figures that we discussed a month or so ago, which are, I think, really fabulous. And it looks like they're continuing the production levels in terms of detail, pose, and anatomy that recent figures have exhibited within their packages. I think everything looks to be superb on these figures, and because of the way that they're posed, it's a vignette in a box, really. All you need to do,
a vignette waiting to happen, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Build a vehicle, put it together, and have the figures by the side on a small little vignette base. Perfect. The kit also includes options, and I say that very loosely, for 3 vehicles. They've sort of hedged their bets slightly from what I can see, in that the vehicles that have been included are relatively generic subjects. They don't look like they're particularly tied to a unit. One you see here, it says unknown unit, France, September 44. Basically, it's just a 3-tone vehicle. This one here is the exception to the rule. But even then, they're hedging their bets because it says
that is just ultimate generic.
It is. It doesn't even look like there are any unit markings on this. I don't know whether there are.
It doesn't get any more generic than that, does it?
No. And the final one, and the one that I do think is attractive, but maybe less so because I would want to use the figures, is this one here. This is a whitewashed vehicle. So this would allow you to have lots of kind of worn paint away from what I assume would be a grey base vehicle, which would be rather
nice. I mean, you could really go to town on the weathering with that, couldn't you? You can see, look at the decal sheet. It's good.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very small decal sheet. There are some unit markings. I assume that they're related to the 15th Infantry vehicle. So, but I think this looks really, really nice.
I can remember, it's one of these kits that looks to me, in terms of Tamiya, I can remember like 7 or 8 years ago, it was a Saturday afternoon, like it is now. Winter had just set in. It was getting dark. Believe it or not, and stand by your beds for the shock, I had the football on the radio.
My goodness.
And I was building their Zero.
And
it was just an afternoon of sheer delight. And then a few years later, I did exactly the same with their Mark IV tank.
Yeah.
that I was building. I sat, it was dark, and it was just, and I probably not football, but something on the radio. And this looks like one of those kits where you can sit down on a Saturday afternoon, put podcasts or whatever on, sit down with a drink and something on in the background in your hobby room, and just build the majority of this in a relaxing afternoon's enjoyment.
Yes, I think so, and we're certainly looking to do exactly that at some point. I think that the idea of building one of these things is definitely up there, and I'm certainly keen to do so. The kit is out now, as far as I'm aware. It's, if not out now, it's out certainly within the next sort of week or so. I think I've started seeing this being advertised. It works out somewhere around about the mid-30s in terms of pounds. I think that's good value for money for what you can see.
I don't got no argument with that whatsoever.
No, absolutely not. So
look at that single part there. Look.
Yeah, it's just everything's just really nice. It is what you would expect from a Tamiya kit, and everything that suggests, really. So that is Tamiya's Jagdpanzer Marder 1. You can see it on here. Available from all good model shops.
I mean, we know that I don't have any particular interest in German World War II armour, but that's a pretty little thing. It is. That is one of those things where I could see myself building that because it's a Tamiya kit, not because of what the subject is.
Absolutely. And if Tamiya's Jagdpanzer Marder 1 is a pretty little kit, the next thing we're going to look at might be a little kit. Pretty, it most definitely is not.
I bet you it's bigger than the Marder.
I bet you it is.
This week Zvezda, in their ever increasing run of announcements, have announced a 1/72 scale S-400, which is the surface-to-air, the most advanced of Russia's surface-to-air missile systems currently in production, and the one that's caused Turkey to be kicked out of the F-35 program. Interestingly enough, because Turkey bought this, refused to not buy it. So the Americans kicked them out of the F-35 program. They said you can't have this surface-to-air missile system and the F-35 at the same time.
Right.
So but as you can see, it's a beast. It's a beast of a surface-to-air missile. It's almost suborbital, I think. It can go to very, very high altitudes. The missiles can up to 300 kilometer range.
Right.
So I mean, this is the missile component, the launcher component. Obviously, it works in conjunction with radar components as well, which I would suspect won't be far behind. But all these are all slightly earlier variants, I think. But if John can go back to the original pictures, the original CAD render, you can see it's based on the big single cab setups that the Russians use for a lot of their missiles. But looking at the thing is with CAD renders, quite often they lead you to think there's more there than there will be in the kit. But Zvezda don't tend to be like that. If Zvezda have released this as a CAD render, this is what's going to be in the kit. It's quite spectacular, isn't it? It's the amount of detail, and it's going to be, like I say, in 72nd scale. This will be bigger than the 35th scale Marder.
Indeed,
I suspect this will be sort of 8 to 10 inches long.
And we're expecting it to be lots of very small parts as well. So this will be quite the construction project.
It will be an extremely complex build, I would imagine, and sort of a long-term project, almost one to dip in and out of here and there, rather than I could see it becoming quite onerous if you sat down and tried to build it as one project from start to finish. But I think, talking about the blue phone things that we've been talking about tonight, it's perfect for a little scene with this, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
It's perfect for creating a little scene. I mean, you go on YouTube, you'll find videos of this thing being used in action, and it's a phenomenal bit of kit. But I love their. We know I'm a Zvezda fan.
Yeah,
but the modern 72nd scale stuff they're doing is just utterly superb as well, and the trucks particularly, because it's going to have all of the underside running gear and all of that kind of stuff. All the transmission and everything will undoubtedly be in there. And I really look forward to getting my hands on it, because I didn't build it, but I have the Iskander, their previous rocket, surface to surface rocket system, and that's just beautiful in the box as well. So Zvezda never disappoint nowadays,
No,
and
they really don't.
And they never stop announcing stuff.
No, they really
They
don't.
never-
And
They've got such a rolling program of releases in 144th, in 72nd, in 48th, in 35th. We've got we've got 48 scale IL2 coming anytime soon. The Hercules in 72nd is out. The 35th scale stuff is the Sherman's just been released. They're pretty much leading in terms of not Asian manufacturers. They're leading the pack at the moment, and not by a small margin. I would
and the consistent quality of the kits that we're seeing as well. This is well illustrated by Jennifer Wright's Mustang that she finished off in the week. Posted the photographs of this. We got a fair idea of what was possible from their vehicle kits. These are the sort of kits, though, that I would really like to see somebody like Alex Clark have a crack at one of these, because he's very much into Russian armour. But to see him do a wheeled vehicle like this and a large one,
I think
that would be fabulous.
Alex doing that S400 would just it would be utterly spectacular, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I have to say that I prefer it with the missile tubes flat in the back of the
kind of the transport.
Great.
I think I kind of like them both, but I can see it being on a little vignette in launching configuration ready to launch. Because I quite like to build their Topol M, the 72nd one of those they did. That would look quite good in the launch configuration as well.
I agree with you on the CAD renderings as well. We don't see anything from Zvezda that makes you even consider that they're trying to pull the wool over potential buyers' eyes with detail that won't be in the kit. The detail is always in the kit, if only that the CAD rendering is the base mark, the base layer of detail. Because often when you see the actual parts, they're almost more impressive than we see on the CAD.
They are not far behind Tamiya in terms of their quality of execution these days. The kits just build painlessly.
Yeah, I mean, Nigel Poole, when he built the Yak 130, he said it was the best plastic model kit I think pretty much he'd put together. He was extremely glowing about it.
Yes, and none of the Zvezda kits I've built over the last few years have been anything but a joy to build.
Yeah,
everything just fits, which is why I'm hoping in the next week or so I can get hold of the Hercules.
Yeah.
Because obviously Jen and I want to cover that in some way for the upcoming festival. But I'm kind of in this position at the moment where I've just finished that Mirage today. Do I start something else, or do I hold out for the Hercules? It might be another week away. It's kind of like I don't want to start something else and then have the Hercules turn up. I really want to get on with that Hercules.
Exactly. Yes, it's the excitement of waiting for it to arrive.
It's awful to have a house absolutely packed to the rafters with kits and not want to start anything because you're waiting for a new kit to turn up.
Yes, but I'm sort of I'm in slightly. Although I dug it out, I dug out a couple of armor kits that I fancied building. The Tamiya Elephant was one of them, and also the what was the other one that I dug out? The Hummel as well, because I thought I fancied building something big and German, Second World War, which I haven't done for a while, and I thought I'll have a go at those. But you forget when you're used to building older Tamiya kits how nice the new ones are. It's an extraordinary thing.
Most of the older kits are nice.
Well, but these ones are like on a kind of another level. Moving on, we come to something completely different from the S400. Something that was muted last year. That information was announced about this kit, but I don't think it materialized. I get the sense that there may have been some issues in terms of licensing or whatever, but for whatever reason it didn't appear as a product, and that's Meng's 1/12 scale for GT40. This thing is an absolutely beautiful car, as anybody that's known. I think we had a conversation before we came on air that the GT40 might be the best looking American sports car ever, and I think that's probably the case. when Meng announced this, it was going to be released. It was going to be a kit that came out with a certain level of detail. And I think a year down the line, they've sort of reevaluated what was in there and reevaluated some of the detail and that kind of thing to produce an even more impressive kit that I get the sense they were planning initially. You can see what this car looks like in the picture. Isn't it a stunning looking machine?
It's lovely. It's very swoopy.
Yes, it is. I mean, it's, let's be honest, a 1/12 scale model kit is probably the closest any of us are going to get to ever owning a GT40.
It wouldn't look to me, bearing in mind I'm not particularly knowledgeable about cars, but at a quick glance it wouldn't look out of place coming from Porsche.
No, or Ferrari.
Or Ferrari.
Which is ironic given that it was built to compete with Ferrari.
Yeah, I mean, but I think the thing is, you're used to American sports cars, American muscle cars being big, brawny, beefy. That's why I love the Mustang and always have. But this looks small and agile and nippy.
Yeah. I think small and agile is the case. We have got CAD renders of this, which we're showing you now. This gives you some indication of how detailed the model will be. From front to back, from nose to tail, the kit will be fully detailed. You'll have full engine bay, full cabin. You'll also have the front trunk, in American parlance, with spare wheel stowed in there. But from what we've seen so far, the detail looks to be very nice, and will offer the modeler the opportunity of building a very impressive replica of this beautiful car from this kit.
I mean, they're going head to head with the likes of the Tamiya 12 scale stuff, aren't they?
Absolutely, yes. And there certainly isn't. I can't think of it. There might. Whether there's another 1/12 scale GT40, I'm not sure whether there is, but this will give you an indication of what you can expect. We have no price on this or any further information, but don't expect this kit to be cheap. I think that's fair.
I've seen comments in the £300.
Yes,
don't expect it to be cheap. It's going to be an expensive model, and it's going to be a serious project. I was expecting Mr. Hartup to have. There we go. Ian. There's Mr. Hartup. Yeah, the Wizard of Oz background is because there's somebody in the background still pulling the levers, Ian. Yeah. So I thought it seemed very apposite. I was expecting Ian to have something to say about this Meng Ford, to be honest, because he's our resident car man, isn't he?
He is indeed.
Any comments welcome, Ian, to be honest.
Yeah, and he's put that Mike Reeves has just put up there that he'd heard that it was $300 to $400. Yeah. So that gives you an idea. So that's putting this model up against the higher end Tamiya 6th scale bikes, that sort of area of price. So it's going to be an expensive, complicated kit. We can't tell you from these images how detailed it'll be, and we make no comment about accuracy and that kind of thing. We can only go by what we've seen on the drawings. But I still think it's an exciting release for people with deep pockets.
Absolutely. It's as we said before we came on air, when Meng really put their all into something, they're they're world stage competitors,
absolutely,
without a doubt. And so if they've got, particularly if they've managed to get all the licensing in place for this and all that sort of stuff, you can expect this kit to be all out.
Yes, I think that's
all out.
Yeah,
look at that.
Yeah, I mean it's such a beautiful car. So we will bring you more information on this when we get it. I'm not suggesting that we'll bring you information from the sample, because that might not happen. But
it won't be from me, put it that way.
It certainly will, very unlikely. So, but we will bring you some more information. But as it stands, we think this is a very interesting release. We think it will be something that will be popular amongst car fans, and we look forward to seeing more images of this. Moving on, we come to something far more pedestrian, but perhaps just as useful when it comes to such things as cars.
Did you have you received any of this?
I have.
You have, yeah. So we've all
Yes.
all three of us this week received samples of Tamiya's new 1, 2, and 3mm tapes.
Yeah.
I don't know if any of us have tried. I've tried it. I've used it. So and I can comment. One of the best things about it I found when you take it out of the packet is that there's a plastic disc on each side of the tape to protect the edges.
Right.
Previously, when I've had thin, like the what's it called, the what dog tape, the Summit dog tape, and things like that. Because it's just packaged in a packet, the edge picks up dust and lint and all that kind of stuff and gets knocked about very, very quickly. Tamiya, I've just put a plastic disc on each side of it to protect it. So yesterday when I used it, I'm used to putting tape onto a board, cutting it, so I've got a really sharp edge. I used this yesterday straight off the roll, and it was pretty much perfect. It was pretty much perfectly sharp edge. So it is their standard kabuki tape, the standard low tack tape, just cut very, very thinly. For modelers to use for fine line work, and although it is pedestrian, it works. So, however pedestrian it might seem to be commenting on a masking tape, the fact that it works and they've done something really simple to protect the edges, which is what you're interested in with this sort of thing, a decent sharp edge and all that sort of thing, really puts it, to my mind, a cut above most of the others that are available on the market.
The one thing I really liked about this was because both of us have presumably used the Aizu tape when that first came out, which was similar sizes to this. I think there was there might have been a 0.5 mil amongst.
Yeah, I think I've used some 0.4 mil and 0.5,
some how much more tape are on these reels compared to those Aizu tapes?
I think it's 18 meters of tape on these, isn't it? I think
I think it is. Yes. It says 1 mil by 18 meters to 3. Yeah, they're all 18-meter rolls.
So that's a fair bit of for the sort of thing you use this tape for.
Yeah.
A roll of that is worth having around because it's going to last you a long time, and it's going to do exactly what you require of it. So
absolutely.
Like I say, but I don't know the prices of this tape at this time. I will defer to anybody else here who knows what the prices are. But all I can say is that having tested it, in fact, some of the masking on that Matra R530 on the Mirage I built was done with this tape, just so you can see the kind of edges I was getting with it on small stuff. So yeah, very pedestrian release maybe. But one that's worth talking about and one that's worth, put it this way, if people are in the market for thin tape for doing fine work, then this has to be, in the running, if not at top of the list at the moment.
And of course, it completes the system of tapes that Tamiya have produced over the years with their standard masking tapes. Then they came out with the flexible white tape that we've all used as well, which is great, which I think is a really nice material. But the thing with that flexible tape is it's not so good for really tiny areas. Where I see this as a benefit is for things like masking off canopies and that kind of thing.
Yes, yeah, all that kind of stuff. It's going to be really handy.
And I think it would be perfect for that. But because of its flexibility, you will be able to use it across a wide range of products. I think this is a really good addition to the range of materials that they're offering, actually. I was really pleased to see it.
The bottom line is that you can build a complete modeling kit these days without ever stepping out of Tamiya.
No, that's true.
And they just keep adding and adding stuff that just people say, oh, this has been done before. Yes, it has, but this is going to be available in your local hobby zone.
Yes.
Whatever. This is the thing that Tamiya brings, apart from absolute A1 quality, is ease of availability.
Yeah,
you go and buy it.
So we're assuming that these will be relatively inexpensive as well, which is great. But also, like you say, Hobbycraft. Oh, there you go, $325.
$325. I mean, I think for $325, so less than a tenner for all three, and I would suggest that one of each of those is going to last you a couple of years of modelling.
Yes, I would
It,
think so.
it's not the sort of thing. It's not the sort of thing you're going to rattle through.
No.
A roll of that a month. That's
No.
gonna be a roll every couple of years or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I think probably. Top of the line for that kind of thing, and ease of
Yes.
availability. I see, and Andy, Mr. Farmer, has said the Hercules is due on Tuesday. So do I hold on?
Of course you do.
That's 2 whole days. Do I hold off starting anything? I think I better find some video games to play for a couple of days.
I was going to say, you've always got your PS4, haven't you?
I've always got
go to that. I would think. Moving away from Tamir's masking tapes, we come to a couple of new releases from Caracal Decals from the States. We're fans of Caracal in this neck of the woods, so to see these sheets appear, I've used a number of their sheets on projects.
I have a huge teetering pile of Caracal sheets because Kursad just keeps releasing really interesting subjects. He picks really off the beaten track subjects, which is what we're going to show here.
Yeah, I mean, I bought a sheet dedicated to a Hasegawa Learjet, which will give you a good idea of where his mind sort of wanders. The two that we've got today, though, we've picked two from a release list of 3 or 4 different sheets, but we thought these were quite interesting. One, because one of them is up there amongst Drew's favourite aeroplanes, which he's going to talk about ad nauseum, and the other one because
don't say it like that.
And before anybody says no, it's not the F-16. Although I have to say I am with Drew on this, and you'll see why when we get to it. But the first one ties in with our discussion about Matchbox kits. They've created a set of decals with 4 options for the Twin Otter. You can see here, this is based around the Matchbox Twin Otter, but also subsequently re-released by Revell. So this kit is fairly widely available. There are 4 really nice schemes in this. You can see from this in order, there is a British Antarctic Survey scheme, Canadian Coast Guard scheme. Then there is the US skydiving team aircraft, which is this one here, which is beautiful, I have to say.
That is pretty.
It is really pretty. And then a World War II heritage scheme.
Which is absolutely appalling in every possible way. This one.
I'm not.
Don't go there, Spencer. It's obscene.
It is. I have to say. I don't dislike it quite so much, but with these ones, I really like the Antarctic Society scheme, the orange one. I think that's great.
I quite like that Canadian one actually. I like. Yeah. If you're gonna do a twotter, it's Canuck seems to be
absolutely. But what is fantastic from this, and what sets the Caracal apart, which Drew has already touched upon, is their originality. They're not going for the obvious when they're releasing sets of decals.
Who else is going to do that?
Nobody is going to do that. That's the thing, and certainly not pick those schemes. But I'd like to say this is unusual for them. But if you go onto their website and check out their decal sheets, this is one of dozens of unusual sheets that they create.
And the other thing is, if you talk to Kursad, I think it is, the guy who owns Caracal, and he is very responsive to suggestions.
Yes,
absolutely. He doesn't always. He says if he can't do something, and there's a reason why he can't do something, he will tell you why he can't do it.
Yeah.
But I've suggested stuff more than once, and he's gone, yeah. That's a really good idea. I'll look into that.
Yeah,
and in the fullness of time, something turns up, and like we say, the Caracal website is very, very much worthwhile visiting, because you might find a kit you never even realised you wanted to build.
One thing we should say about Caracal's website is don't go on there if you don't want to fall down the rabbit hole, because I've been on that site a few times and thought, oh man, I look at that, I could build that. And before I know it, I've wasted 2 hours looking at colour schemes for aircraft models that I hadn't even considered. The one thing that wish they would do kind of a slightly more of. They do 144, 72nd, 48 scale sheets. They don't do anything in larger scales. There must be that must be their core kind of business idea. But there are some of the sheets on there that would look fabulous in the larger scales. But early F16s being one of them, as I discussed the other day.
I think it's just one of those things is that he's always got, his plate is always full.
Absolutely.
His dance card is always full of projects, so he's kind of limiting it to those scales because it means he can release stuff.
Yeah, and the quality for anybody that's seen these sheets is fabulous. I mean, the printing quality is sensational. The instructions are brilliant. The whole pack.
If I just go over here a second, I'm looking just over here to a pile I've just picked up that's just on the side. FJ3 Furies.
There you go.
Flankers, foreign flankers.
Yeah.
Look at this, is all Marlins.
Marlins, yes. What's the chance?
What's the chances?
Yeah.
Look, I ordered these F15 CDs from Lakenheath, and then realised I had ordered them before, and now have 3 of them.
Fabulous.
Which is the kind of thing. Look, early years of F15s.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean,
which actually leads us on very nicely. Almost
144 scale B52s. That is a pile that I literally just had 2 feet away, which is 99. Oh, one Bergamot pint sheet, but that is all Caracal stuff.
Yeah. So the early F15 years leads us on nicely, almost as if we've planned this to the next sheet, which you're going to discuss. And that sheet is early years of the F14 Tomcat in both 72nd scale and in 48.
Look at that. I'm sort of like, I don't really know what else to say other than look at that and buy it. I just think it's just, I mean, you're looking at it and you've got F14A 1, 2, 3, 4 in 2 different markings, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 and 11, and a couple of very early sort of full scale development aircraft. So you've got the entirety of the prototype Tomcat fleet there to build, to make a kit from. Now, the one thing you are going to have to do, and I suspect that they will have quite comprehensive instructions, is you're going to have to be very, very careful about the aircraft you pick and the modifications you make, because the early Tomcat prototypes, although they all look very much like a Tomcat, there's a lot of subtlety going on, especially with the wing gloves, the overwing fairings, and the tail, that you need to be very, very aware of when you start your kit. So you need to pick a subject, research it, and you, once you've picked your variant you want to build, which one of those, like initial 11 you want to build, stick with it. Don't change. Because you'll rapidly start diverging from how the aircraft actually looked. So, and particularly with the early overwing fairings and strakes and stuff. So be very, very careful. But I just think the fact that he's also done an early Hornet sheet, early F16s. So it's turned out that people are really interested in the very early years of these jets.
I think there's no doubt about that, and they open up so many possibilities, and you can't say that they're not as bright as the squadron or unit markings, because just look at them. I mean, my favourite amongst this cluster is the third one down, which I guess is the number 3 prototype with the nose boom and the striping on the tail and around the radome. I think that's
and the big number 3 on the tail, which gives it away.
Yeah, I can't see. I'm looking at it in a very small picture on my screen. Hence me hedging my bets. I was just hoping that when we typed this out, they were in the same order. But yes, the number 3 on the tail. Thank you very much for pointing that.
I'm just trying to help.
Yes, and you very much did. So thank you very much.
I have to say, I quite like number 1 without no day glow. Just a very, very basic scheme, but obviously that aircraft crashed on its second flight, was it?
Right. Okay.
Second flight, I think it was, coming back. coming back into land. It had a hydraulic failure. And there's actually some very good film available if you have a look on YouTube of the aircraft going in and the crew ejecting at the very last second. Both very, very. But the aircraft, they were bringing it back with a hydraulic failure. You can see hydraulic fluid leaking from it, and then it just pitched straight nose down into a forest, and they banged out. And it's a really impressive piece of film. But it seemed to be it didn't sort of inhibit the aircraft going into service at all. So
going by what we've got available to us as kits, you would probably have to choose a suitable kit to produce these prototypes and FSDs from. So where would you suggest we go for that? Because obviously
honestly, in 48 scale, as Mike has just said, there is a resin company working on a lot of early Tomcat mods. I can't possibly say who that is.
No,
but that would be Phase Hanger, obviously. And you basically, for 48 scale, you're starting with the Tamiya F14A and looking up the relevant Phase Hanger tails and gun port mods and that kind of thing. I don't know if Mike is working on or has plans for some of the earlier overwing fairings, which are really quite a different shape and detail. And some of the boat tails were a little bit different as well. I don't know what I don't know how well they would sell to make it worth Mike's while, but there is plenty of information out there on those things. Should you want to build one of these aircraft and make the modifications? I don't think they're difficult. They're just very obvious.
Yeah,
when you're looking at the aircraft. So,
and in 72nd scale, of course, we've had a raft of F-14 Tomcats appear recently. Most notably for me, the Academy kit, which I built earlier on this year, which was a spectacular piece of work.
Yes, I mean, I think in terms of the in terms of 72nd scale, I know that Wolfpack are planning an early boat tail for the Academy kit. But if you want an existing kit with a boat tail, Great Wall Hobby have done their F14A with a boat tail and early gun port mods and all that kind of stuff. So there's a reasonable starting point. My temptation would be to still probably go with the Academy kit because I think it's the best 72nd scale Tomcat that's ever been released. Which, funnily enough, you've built and I haven't yet.
It is. I can honestly say that it's up there with the very best 72nd scale kits I've ever put together. I've got spectacular.
I've got half a dozen of them downstairs, and I haven't built one yet.
Yeah, I'd certainly build another one. And it was obviously those early mods are a particular interest to you because I know that you are a particular fan of VF1 Wolfpack and have been wanting to make a good model of that, especially in 48 scale, for a considerable amount of time.
Well, it's all slowly coming together with Mr. Reeves. He has sent me the early tail and gun port mods for the Tamiya kit. And I'm waiting for some other stuff to turn up, and I'm probably going to get. It's one of those kits I want to build the Tamiya. Oh, look at that! Oh my god,
glorious!
Glorious. Look at all the wings in different positions as well. Look at that, beautiful!
Isn't that a fabulous photograph?
Yeah, so I'm sort of bringing everything. I've got the decals, I've got the relevant tail and nose mods. I think I've got some seats and stuff on the way from Mike, as we said. And I also want to get the Quinta Studios decal interior for it. And I've got the kit, so everything is more or less there for me to build my dream VF1 Tomcat. And at the moment, my plan is that assuming nothing gets in the way, that is going to be a Christmas project for me.
Yeah, brilliant.
That is going to be something that I'm going to approach over Christmas and spend the Christmas. That's excellent, and spend the Christmas holidays building one. But that's a really interesting photograph for very obvious reasons, and the aircraft was perfectly controllable.
Yes.
Interesting to control apparently, but it was, it was a live test because they had the wing sweep fail on one aircraft, and so they reproduced it for test flights. And would you want to take an aircraft up like that?
No, I think not.
No.
Definitely not.
But they proved it was perfectly recoverable.
Yeah.
I don't think they ever had another instance of it.
Ah,
So
right.
it was never something that was. It's never something that happened in real life. So
Excellent. Right, so that is Caracal's early Tomcat years sheet, available now if you go onto Caracal's website. So that's pretty much it for tonight. So I think the only thing that I need to do is to ask you whether there's anything else you'd like to discuss before we call it a night.
Nothing springs to mind. I would like to know. Andy said they've sold out. I don't know if he's talking about the Hercules or the tape. I hope it's not the Hercules because I was wanting one, but I'll be most disappointed.
I would imagine that. Oh, the tape.
God dear.
Blimey.
Oh, blimey.
Lordy.
Just for a few seconds there, I was sweating.
Lordy. So, well, I have nothing else to discuss.
No, I think as we initially said this evening. KP panel lines. Okay, yeah. I don't really think it's appropriate to discuss that here.
No,
I think perhaps that's more of a Wednesday night discussion.
Possibly, we'll need to speak to our legal department before we go down that particular route. So we'll speak to the legal team.
Suffice it to say, if anybody's interested, go and visit Drew's model page, where I don't really have the same responsibilities to maintain, and look at the post about KP's panel lines and draw your own conclusions. But we won't. It will
raise several eyebrows, possibly at the same time when you see the photographs.
But that's enough. Moving swiftly on. I'll tell you one thing. I was very happy to read this week, although it came from quite a controversial place, if you like, was that Special Hobby have confirmed this week that their Mirage 3 range is actually in tooling as we speak, and they're expecting test shots in the next few weeks for the start of release in early 2021. So whereas I've discussed how beautiful I think the Models Fit kit is, albeit expensive.
Yeah.
Anthony, it's called Drew's Model page on Facebook. That's literally it.
Yeah.
I think this is likely to be a half to 2/3 of the price per copy.
Yes.
So whereas with the Models Fit one, much as I love it, I'll order one of each and build it. And if I want to build another variant, I'll order another one. This is one where I will just order a handful of each release as there.
Yeah.
Because as I've said, at 33 pounds, I'll buy one. At 17 to 19 pounds, I'll buy four.
Yes, absolutely. And we're assuming that the quality will be up there with the Mirage F1.
Yes, well, it's one of it's followed directly on from their Mirage F1 as a project in terms of it is one of their mainstream metal tool.
Yeah.
Proper releases, if you like, not limited run. So and they're planning a complete range of them. So the next year, if you're a Mirage 3 fan, Mirage 3 550 fan, is going to be good times.
Yes, absolutely. I can see you're already excited by the possibility of building yet another series.
It's just Mirages, isn't it? It's just that you never seem to run out of schemes and little interesting subvariants that are always different enough from what's come before to make it worth building a model.
Yes, absolutely.
So, I know a lot of people like to build one model of a subject and then move on. It's about color schemes for me, color schemes and variants. So for me, I'm happy with the idea that I can get a kit for 18 to 20 pounds, hopefully.
Yeah.
Even if it's over 20 pounds, I'm not that bothered. But that's the whole point, Mike, is that Meteor NF12 is not a long run kit. It's a limited run model.
Yeah,
we're talking about, we're talking about Special Hobbies mainstream production format. So it's and as Dave says, finally decent treatment for the Mirage 3. It's very, very long overdue.
Absolutely.
And I can't wait. So sorry for dragging it back to Mirages, but I don't know quite when I became such a Francophile, but anything Mirage, Étendard, Mystère, all of the French jets essentially. Since World War II, I've just come to think of as some of the most beautiful things ever to take flight.
And you're not wrong on that either. As we have argued many times, none of them are an F-15, but they're all still very beautiful. And with that, I think that wraps it up for this evening.
It's one that's not. Has it run over? It has run slightly over,
very slightly,
but only very slightly. Not like our marathon, our marathon Wednesday night sessions.
And I think that's partly because we run a tighter ship when it's just me and you, and not have the influence of the chief cook and bottle washer.
I think it's gone very well. I think it's gone very well. I think
indeed. Oh yeah, yes, quite. I forgot he's still in the background. So thank you to everybody that's tuned in tonight. Thank you all for spending time with us this evening. I hope you found the show informative. Hope you got something from it. Check out all of the pages as usual, and some of these products. I'm sure you'll find them.
And please, guys, always go onto the Interesting Model Company's Facebook page and comment on the show and tell us what you liked. And
yes, indeed.
If there's stuff that you didn't like, also, that's just as useful to us as stuff that you did like. So let us know, because we're trying to build a format here that we can refine as and when we need to hopefully make it better and more interesting for everyone. International Modelling Company. You could look at him. Look, he just thinks
can't help himself. Cannot help himself. So we're going to go off. We should be with you again on Wednesday night. And we will also be bringing, hopefully over the next sort of week or so, we'll bring you some more information about the Festival of Modelling, because it's rapidly running up towards us now. So once and when we get hold of some of the products we're going to look at, we'll be able to introduce those to you as well. So in the meantime, please stay safe. Remember to wash your hands, wear a mask, don't be a fool. And we will see you again on Wednesday.
I won't be here Wednesday. I will be at work.
Apparently the good-looking one will be with us back for the chat on Wednesday night. Whoever that may be, I don't know of anybody that fits that description. I don't
need to come here for this abuse.
Indeed. Right. In the meantime, everybody, take care, and we will see you soon. Cheers. Take care. Bye.